Right, my content has slowed down a lot, and because I just haven't really understood anything how to make my videos the way I want to, in terms of what kind of content I want to make. I do want to make more just like talking videos about stuff that I actually care about, like basically things that I talk about on TikTok that I don't want to make just TikTok only content, right? I want to actually make long form, passionate content, right? So this video topic today is something I've thought about recently, but I haven't really put out in the world in like a very active way, right? The fact that we are on this planet as human beings, as a species, as living organisms, let alone multicellular organisms, right? The chances of that happening are already astronomical, right? And I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in creationism, right? I believe in biology and science, right? Evolution, all that. I mean, Christians can't believe in evolution, right? But for the most part, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that we are in a floating rock hurtling through space, right? I think that as human beings, we have not been on the planet long enough to really know how to be good. You know what I'm saying? Know how to like be good to each other and to the world that we live in, right? And you might be like, what are you talking about? We have all this, we know how to do this and that. Yes, we know how to do things in the immediate, right? And based off historical, that's how you learn, right? An easy analogy I have to kind of like equate this to is just basic. It's just really easy, like basic life. Like you go from child to an adolescent to an adult, right? When you are a child, there are things that you do that you like, because everything that a human does is trial and error. For the most basic understanding is trial and error, right? And this is everything that I say in my videos when it comes to philosophy or just things that I think are just intellectually pleasing or whatever. It's not going to be profound. I just like talking about certain things, right? People always want to say, oh, this is what I thought when I was 13. Congratulations. I like thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? Just because you thought about it once doesn't mean you can't think about it again, right? Hate when people try to gatekeep philosophy and try to gatekeep just thinking about stuff, right? So anyways, basically, when you are a kid, this is very obvious, very, simple. You learn how to do certain things, you learn how to not do certain things, how to avoid certain things, right? As you get older, certain things stick to your who you are as a person more than others, right? For some people, they're more empathetic, so they try to that certain things that will hurt somebody else will be more impactful in terms of how that person molds themselves as they get older, right? As they enter their adolescence, right? Their early adolescence and their middle adolescence. And I actually just learned a few days ago that once you're an adolescent until you're like 23, 24, 25 or something like that, right? I'm 23. I thought I was I'm an adult, right? But I thought I was done with adolescence. I thought that was when you were like a teenager, right? That's a very limited, naive understanding, right? But I thought I was done being an adolescent. So I'm not, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I thought I was done, right? But you go from the things that you learned all your life and you apply those to make you who you are, right? On a small scale, that works in your small circles and for the most part, right? For sometimes it doesn't really work out. Sometimes what you try to exude in the world doesn't really reflect what you were trying to do, right? Just because you're an empathetic person does not mean the city you live in is going to be empathetic, right? Like you can, okay, sure, if a whole city, like it's pretty easy examples, right? Red states and blue states, right? Certain things in those two color states are going to be exuded more because the community around that area, in those areas, like they all exude that similar or same quality, right? So therefore it's going to reflect in a larger scale. So that's what I'm talking about, right? There are things that you do intrinsically to yourself that if the world was not really smaller, but if we were older, like if we were an older species, right? The human being itself has been around for what, 300,000 years, right? 300,000 years. That's a very long time, you know what I'm saying? But then even we look at it from like when you zoom out on a timeline, right? Speaking of timelines, I'll get into that after. But when you zoom out the timeline, that's what, I don't know what the example was, right? It was like if you zoom out on the timeline, the human beings have been around for like not even a second relative to the lifespan or the lifetime of the universe, right? Universe is what, 14 billion years old or some shit like that, right? Human beings have only been around for like not even a second relative to the amount of time that the universe has existed. So then you zoom back in, right? You zoom back in. You go back to the human being, Mesopotamia, right? My biology, anthropology is a little bit rusty. I haven't done that in 3 or 4 years almost, right? But from what I remember, what I just am interested in like a niche way, we have been like, I'm going to skip all of the older ancient humans, right? I'm going straight from railroads, right? the modern steam engine. Well, not modern, but you get the point. The steam engine, right? The, whatever it's called. What is it? Is it steam engine? Coal. The one with the coals. You shovel the coals into it, right? The first railroads. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Basically, right around the era of naval colonialism. Not that era. Not necessarily colonialism itself, but the era where people were like taking ships across the planet and just exploring, right? As human, you're curious. It's playing, bro. From that point on, right? It took a while, right? Because as human beings, we've been around for like I said before, a few hundred thousand years, and but in terms of like our advancement as a species, the last like few hundred years has been exponential, as we all know, right? Again, this is not a profound video. This is like something I just thought about recently. Well, not super recently, but in the past few months where I started, this is my actual, me putting it out there to really get my thoughts out there, right? But we have not been around long enough to really exude the qualities that I think as human beings we are striving for in a very, very slow way, like barely even a crawl, right? Like, dude, like we are bad. I mean, this video is not me excusing humanity, even as if I have like the right or the power to excuse humanity for certain things. But what I'm saying is, we have only been around in a way of understanding the world. Because we first started understanding the world, yeah, back in like ancient Greece or something like that, right? But like that was very like, I mean, okay, relative to the time that was huge, right? And then you looking back at it, right? Pause. You see how like simple the world was. But then that puts into perspective how like smart these ancient Greeks and all these other people that were like thinking about the universe and like discover certain things, the heliocentric, the geocentric stuff, like all that stuff, right? But that's still a very limited understanding. They didn't have the technology that we have now, not even now, but like a few hundred or 100 years ago, right? Like we went from trains like that era to where we are now in only a couple hundred years. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it's a long time in the human perspective. But in terms of as species, because we didn't really evolve in that time, right? But we did change. We did improve on a lot of things, right? And it's really the duality of human beings, right? We are responsible for such like individually great things, individually as in the human race. A lot of things that we do are negatively impacting the world around us, right? Trains, the civilizations that we have built everywhere, not just America. I'm talking about, when I say most things in this video or just in general, I'm referencing mainly the US, or not just, well, the Western world, I should say, because that's the world that I know, right? That's the world that in my audience, I would assume is most familiar with, right? So what I mean by that is we have only been around long enough to really go forward. Yeah, we've had plenty of time to look back at it. Again, pause, right? But that nobody that's actually, making these huge steps is really thinking about how it's affecting the world around us. You know what I'm saying? We have such a large capacity to do good, but the bad stuff is really bad, right? It's like, okay, the low highs, or no, how would I say this? So like the good's here, the capacity, like the line for good is here. And then the line, like, so like the line for like, this is like the line of like neutrality, I should say. This is like good, right? The bad, it's up here, right? In terms of like what's affecting the world around us, right? We've become so advanced in the last few hundred years, but that's come like at the cost of the goodness that we could be doing. I mean, it's hard to really get to that point without sacrifice, right? But we have not like gotten to the point where we're like, let's say for example, WALL-E, right? You have WALL-E, the movie WALL-E, with the people that evacuated Earth or whatever, and they were like on those chairs being fat and shit on the in space. If we were that far into the future, that's basically like the direction we're going, right? But let's say that we took that. Obviously, it's a cartoon movie, animated movie, right? But let's say we took that, right, and thought about, okay, how do we avoid getting there? Is in like destroying the planet to a point where we have to not only evacuate, but we're gonna evacuate and live a worse quality of life, inside of ourselves. Like obviously you have all the screens, dopamine, all the like. If you're obese in space, you're having a pretty good luxurious type of life, right? But what I'm saying with this is that we haven't had the time to really like learn, like in terms of the lifespan, or not lifespan, the timeline I should say, or like the lifetime that we've had human beings on this planet. We are still in our very early infancy of like advancements, whatever, because we have all the stuff that we have now, but it's very not raw, right? I don't know, because it's like to us, because again, we as human beings, we are very new to the planet, right? 300,000 years and relative to even a billion is very, very minuscule, right? But a little 4.3 billion, right? So we are very new to the earth. What we're doing now is trial and error. Yeah, it's we have a trial and error in terms of our species, our civilizations, right? To get to where we are now. But we only have one Earth, right? We only have one Earth, and we can't really, not just one Earth. We all only live one life, right? We all know those stories about reincarnation, those little kids that have memories from lives that they didn't live or some shit like that. But it's like we can all only experience this shit once, right? But we all, as a collective, it doesn't matter how good a good handful of us are, in like as a collective species, we are not good enough. We're not good enough. Like we're doing pretty good in terms of where we came from to where we are now, thanks to these things right here, right, and this thing up here, the brain and thumbs, right. But like, there's so much that we are like doing wrong, that we're just doing a lot of stuff wrong, and it's not like we can't not do it better. Haven't been around long enough to really think, okay, we've maxed out on advancements. Let's fix the species. Not on some, well, not on some Viltrumite shit, right? Maybe not on some, who was that? Thanos shit, right? Maybe not on some, me personally, I think Thanos was right. A lot of y'all have to go. Not even just for like resource reasons, but a lot of y'all, we just gotta reset, little clean reset. Not the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? Just half of it. Maybe even 60%, 66%. 2/3 of people stay, third of us leave, right? That's a good amount of people gone. 2/3 of 9 billion almost is 6 million or 6 billion, right? 6 million is crazy. 6 billion, right? So I'm not saying we need a full reset, but it's like we need to really understand that. I mean, it's not gonna happen in my lifetime unless I live. I mean, I am Viltrumite in a way, so I might live until I'm 400,000 years old. But like in certain people's lifetimes, it's not gonna happen. Like we're not gonna get to a point where we are, as a whole, like understanding the intrinsic value of human existence on the planet. We could have done. It's like that's where shit gets a little complicated, right? Because we could have done so much better, but we didn't know, which is what I'm talking about. We didn't know. We had to do better as a kid, right? A kid is an easy example, right? Let's say as an adult, right, to get you on some like current shit, right? Let's say you're a gym goer, or you're practicing something, some kind of skill, some kind of music, the gym, a sport, anything that involves practice and skill, right, or just knowledge of how to do something, right. You don't know if you're doing wrong if you are practicing something and you're like doing it how you would do it naturally, until you have somebody that's been doing it better than you comes to correct you, course correct you. You might be doing it right, but here's how you do it better. Human beings have been doing it right, but we could have been doing it like a lot better. Yeah, we've had so many things, like, bro, we have penicillin. Like, I mean, yeah, it's very basic. It's so basic that we have forgotten how insanely useful and how beneficial that's been for the human race. Simple stuff like that. We've gotten so far past the boom and advancement that we've been coasting for like the past 50 years, right, in a way. And now we are at the point where we're going the wrong direction as well. Like we're getting more, well, not we, but like a lot of people in like a large scale are getting more and more bigoted and ignorant. It's really wild to see, and it's always boomers. It's mostly boomers and Gen X are the ones that are promoting it, right? There's a lot of people, like, I'm not saying you can't have other opinions, right? But there's a lot of bigotry in the world that's preventing the world, due to religion in a way, right? That's like preventing the world from like advancing to a point where we can be the people in Wall-E, but we can be like the Viltrumite version of those people. Let's say we evacuate Earth, right? We could just be Viltrumites. We don't have to be big beanbags in a floating chair eating chicken fingers and watching Miss Rachel at 45 years old, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like we could have. I'm not saying we ever will be in this timeline, but if we as human beings were to ever, I don't know how long we have left on the planet. We might have 100 years left. That's being generous, I feel like. If we keep going the way we're going now, we have 100 years left maximum. That's 100 years starting from like right now. You know what I'm saying? 20, 21, 26. You know what I'm saying? We only got 100 years if we keep going the way we're going right now, right? So I really don't know if Elon, that nigga could have been doing some shit by now, bro. Back in the day when it was like 24, no, not even that. When I was like 16, 17, 18, whatever, I thought Elon Musk was gonna be the next Tony, or not the next, the first real life Tony Stark. That nigga's a chud. You're a chud. You're a trillionaire and you're a chud. A chudionaire. You're a chudionaire. You could be, yeah, the whole Mars thing. There's so many things. He literally could have solved world hunger with $60 billion. He could have solved. I mean, that's an embellishment of the article or whatever, right? But it's like, dude, we could have been doing so much better. We can be doing so much better right now, but people aren't, because they're brainwashed. They're boomers. They're like, people don't want to do better. We want better now, but we're not thinking about better for y'all. Always care about, oh, think about the children. You're so concerned about the LGBT, but you're not thinking about the actual future of those children. It's from gay people, like, bro, that you know that they're actual people, right? The people that they're trying to protect your kids from, yeah, they're gay, but they're people. You realize that, right? But you're concerned. You're not worried about AI. You're not worried about like AI destroying the planet. You're not worried about global warming. You're only worried about you being 85 years old, having a better house, having more money at 85 years old. Nigga, you have 30 years. You have 5 years left. You know what I'm saying? You're worried about the children being, indoctrinated by gay or some shit, turning trans because they watched a video on YouTube for 10 minutes. But no, you're not worried about the actual planet that's affecting the people that are already adults. That you are so dumb. You're all so dumb. It really, like, I'm getting mad now, right? Because y'all aren't even gonna be here that much longer. But you're being retarded. You're being dumb. Like, you're mad about some shit that doesn't have, like, bro, like, you are mad about people living their fucking life that you will never meet them. You might never even come across them in the street. You watch videos on fucking YouTube about people that don't even have an effect on your life, but you're mad about that shit. You're mad about the kids seeing it. You realize, right? You're talking about, oh, it's gonna affect the children. You realize that gay kids watch movies with straight people in it and they don't come out straight? Are you fucking stupid? Like, do you think about that shit, bro?